Welcome back, folks. We are back on episode 14. Now, we have Poria again. And Serge, this guy. And I have to break some bad news. Unfortunately, Moose has got the bitch mode in. He couldn't make it. He had to get a testicular torsion made. Unfortunately, it's a very tough procedure. There's only like a handful that gets done every decade. He's one of them, unfortunately. Saeed had a double lung transplant. He was coughing his lungs up last time, unfortunately for him. And Dawood, he had Big Daddy syndrome. Unfortunately, we have to extract the testosterone because he had so much of it. So, yeah, he's undergoing procedure for that. It's pretty much like chemo. Who else? Who else did we have?
Anas.
Anas, yes. He is getting a reduction because big dick swinging. It was massive. He was hurting people left and right.
Damn.
Yeah, it was. It's been a crazy week, man. It has been a crazy week.
So we're the only ones without some kind of procedure or some kind of tragedy that's befelled us.
Yes, exactly right. We show up, not like some bitches out here. Yeah. If the shoe fits, fucking wear it.
If the shoe fits.
Yeah.
It'll probably be in his ass.
Yeah, like, I don't call up 2 hours before a shoot, be like, oh, I'm really not in the mood. I'm not in the right mindset. Bitch. Fucking hell. He knows who he is. Yeah. Anyways.
I think you just traumatized him.
2 minutes of that.
2 minutes of me just talking shit. Welcome back, boys and girls. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate for you coming.
No worries.
Thank you for showing up.
Always.
And not being late.
Damn.
Technically, you were an hour late.
Hey. Yeah.
I was late with you. It's okay.
Yeah. Guilty by association.
Guilty by association. Unfortunately, it's just a screensaver. It's just It's
very interesting.
It's a very interesting screensaver.
Tell us more. I mean,
don't. Nobody needs to know about that.
There's a lot of incriminating stuff on this screensaver.
Damn.
It's a metaphor.
I don't want to know what for.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Metaphor? For what? Anyway.
Anyways. Now.
Very good. I like that. Well done.
It's too good.
Good gag.
Like the reflex?
I swear.
We're back.
Hey,
are we? Doesn't feel like it.
Well, we had a little hiatus. Last podcast we did, the whole file was just destroyed. Like, I got home, I put the SD card in, and it just didn't work. No video whatsoever. I was actually hurt.
Was there audio or not?
No, the audio, because it's separate. It's on an SD card here. But the video was just completely just destroyed. I don't know how that happened. It was so weird.
It's the CIA hacking in, going, fuck, it shouldn't be released.
To be fair, we discussed a lot of issues that was happening in the world at that podcast.
Damn.
So I'm not surprised that it just kaboomed itself.
This is your Watergate tapes, like.
Yeah.
Secretly, they weren't corrupted. You just holding out on everybody and then be like, oh, unreleased tapes. Like, there you go.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Now, let's get started. First of all, don't I look good in this? Get paid. Fuck yeah. Now, the back. What? Why are you laughing? Back. Make a change, bitch. Let's make a change. I don't know what it's supposed to mean. We got these jumpers, and we're supposed to sponsor them. Whoever this idiot decided to get paid and make a change, fuck you, because it is a stupid design, but I'm going to wear it anyways, because that's what boys do. But it actually looks good. I actually dig it.
I'm not gonna lie, they look good.
They do look good. But fuck you anyways.
Damn.
No, it's all love. No, actually, I'll drop a link down where you can get them. They're actually comfortable.
They are actually very comfortable.
They're very, very comfortable.
I don't have
Do you want one?
nothing.
Oh.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Are you sure?
100%.
Do you want to make a change?
I do.
Okay.
I don't really want to get paid though. I don't want to have to put this on my tax papers.
Oh, we have to claim it? Oh, okay. Anyways.
It's a good thing I was made redundant.
Damn. No. Honestly, on topics of actually getting things done and making change and all of these, I'm glad you two are on today.
Okay.
Because these topics, there's some people that just don't comprehend it. And I did want to discuss it with you two.
Okay.
There comes certain stages in your life where, like I was talking about this earlier, how before I had all the energy and I was just trying to do good, as in making money, having progress, doing something with my life that is worthy. Now, I didn't have the right direction because my energy was just scatterbrained everywhere, nothing concentrated. I didn't have the right path. There is no right path, obviously, but it's what you make out of it. Now, what I am trying to discuss is how do you figure where you want to be at? And how do you find out who do you want to work for? Because you won't find that in your 20s. And some people, they work until their 30s, their 40s, and then they step back, they're like, damn, I spent 10, 15, 20 years of my life and I'm actually miserable in this job that I am working. And like, it's too late for me to make a change. Now, I'm a believer of it's never too late. It's actually never too late because we're in a, first world country. I have to say first world because I don't really believe it's a first world. But regardless, there's always opportunity in this country of you changing and going into another career. I've had a handful of jobs, actually more than that, way more than that.
You've had some switches.
I've had some switches. Oh my God. Went from cars to health to freaking trades and everything. I've delved into a lot of jobs. I think this is not my stopping point. I'm still going to be diving into other things as well. But my question is again, how do you know who to work for?
I think to your point around, people saying, it's a little too late to make a change. It's never too late to make a change because at the end of the day, the way I see it is if you are still alive, you have a pulse and you have some kind of impulse to drive you to where, what's good for you, what you feel good in versus what you don't feel good in to drive away from that, then it's never too late because you could be, I've seen people have the most success in their 50s and 60s in comparison to when they were younger. Some of the, again, you look at some of the very successful millionaires, billionaires, all that stuff, later in life sometimes end up being more successful than people who are like those entrepreneurs straight out of uni, in uni, all that. So there's no linear path, I think, for anybody. In fact, one step back, one step to the side, wherever, 3 steps forward. It's no journey is going to look the same. It's just about figuring out at that point where you want to be and figuring out the pathway to it. And sometimes the pathway isn't 100% clear. Not being in the same place, taking a step towards something, challenging yourself towards bettering yourself in that direction, it'll get you there. But in terms of that question, that part of the question where you said, who do you feel like, how do you know who to work for, or something along those lines where working for people doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily bad. Everybody seems to have this weird especially people who want to be in entrepreneurship and, you know, building a business, being, you know, all that. They see it as a dirty word, working for people. For some people I've seen, they genuinely are happier working under someone in a job with a manager or with something like that. There's less stress. To be honest, from my point of view, it's less stress when you have predefined workloads, you know, when you clock in, when you clock out, that kind of stuff. There's nothing wrong with that if that makes you happy, if that is the walk of life you want to go with. Will it make you rich? Probably not. There's not been people that I've seen that work a 9-to-5 job and get rich. They'll live comfortably, they'll retire, they'll do that. But if your goal is to be rich, there's different pathways to that. Working for someone, that's not bad either. Working for yourself, that's a different line. But you have to figure out what kind of view of life you want, what makes you happy. And fundamentally, it comes down to understanding yourself. What makes you tick, what gives you joy, what doesn't give you joy, what pisses you off. I mean, hell, half the stuff that I've done in the past, I can tell you there's a stack load of things I hated, but I had to do it at the time, or I diverted myself towards something that I did like. But it's a tough one. I think at the end of the day, understanding yourself is the first point of reference.
Now, I do love your answer. I think to better make the question is, if you were talking to a 16, 17-year-old that is still in high school and they have a lot of energy and they want to do good, how would you answer because they would come up to you and be like, I don't know what to do. And most people are. They're like, I don't know. In 16, 17, heck, I didn't know what to do until I was 24. And I still don't know what I want to do. It looks like you have something to say.
No.
No?
Why would I have anything to say?
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
It's very interesting, you know. It's a fantastic topic, very important question to ask. I like the view that I've heard on the matter, but it's a very typical question because people seem to think that they owe their energy to the world at some level, and they question. But I'd find that statement almost always incorrect. Nobody is alive who doesn't know what they want or where they want to point their energy. What they're trying to say is society doesn't accept what I want to do. If you're a sociopath, you know exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
If you're a psychopath, you know exactly what to do.
Settle down then.
If you're an artist, you know exactly what you want to do. If you're a businessman who wants to create products, you know exactly what to do. If you just want to make money to justify your existence because that's how you feel you would get the attention that you're looking for, you still know exactly what to do. If you want to break the law to feel better about yourself, you know, feel more. Some people, if they earn it illegitimately, they feel like they've achieved something greater. They want to be the king of the hill, for example. And they can only feel that way if they have people below them. So they want to rise above people. Everybody knows exactly what they want to do. Well, the problem is, not every single thing you want to do is accepted by society. You have your parents, you have your, you know, legal issues, you have peers, you have all sorts of things. And I can't say what I would say to a 16-year-old, but I can say at 42 what I would say to myself as a 16-year-old. Because I've had the fortune of living my life. So I could genuinely tell that 16-year-old how it's going to pan out. I was there. And I would tell him, you don't owe anyone anything. Nothing. Not your energy, not your explanations, not your desires. You don't need anyone to tell you it's okay. You know. And it's 100% okay to want to do nothing, because you will suffer 100% of the consequence. And it's okay to want to do something extraordinary, because you will also suffer 100%, and it may not be suffering. You also will be rewarded with 100%. Because you will always be the direct recipient of the result of your actions. owe no one an explanation, and nobody who did anything great is smarter than you, and nobody who's sitting in jail looking at 4 walls for the rest of their life is dumber than you. You know, the evidence for everything that's going to happen based on what you should and shouldn't do with yourself is all there. So if you're willing to accept the road as it maps out, and the problem is, very few people want to be like everybody around them. Very few kids at 16 want to be exactly like their dad, or exactly like their mom, or exactly like their sister, or they always aspire to someone who they don't know most of the time. So why would you ask any of the people who isn't who you want to be what you should do with yourself? You want to be a stockbroker, you don't know a stockbroker. You better go find one and go talk to them. And the funny thing is, go to the most unbelievable place where you think no one would answer. You know, get to the point where you can send an email direct to a billionaire. He will reply to you because they actually love that. Everyone who's successful in a guitarist, a singer, a person who does the taxes. I know people who genuinely at 16 knew they love numbers, but they love them in terms of tax. Tax law was the thing they loved them. You know, go ask a tax agent if at 16 they would still want to be who they are. Right? You know, you got to be at 16, I tell myself, be very careful where you get your advice from. And ultimately, you don't really need any anyway, because you know exactly what's up. Yeah. Just make sure before you go in any direction at 16 that you accept the consequences. But I think, and it just depends what you want in life. Why do you go to work? I mean, people who say, I hate my job, they don't hate their job. They hate jobs. Right? I find it very hard to believe that man was given any task of any kind that he didn't hate. You know, unless he gave himself the task. Like fishing, for example. Like he picked something he could do for himself. So any task that's given to him is not okay, right, at some level. So the struggle you have got nothing to do with the work you're doing. But then if you go back to the Japanese, for example, and their culture, it says, I don't care if you're pouring some tea. If you're dedicating yourself, the difference is the people who are getting up in the morning and trying to have an adventure as a result of the hours they have in that day. And they will make sure that they live out their principles irrespective of the task, or other people who are so, they have no principles ingrained within them. They want to get the perfect circumstance where none of their principles get tested. So they can go, I love my job. Really. So then you're a hammer, and every problem you ever see has to be a nail. Right? If you as a human being try to have a chest of tools with greater capacity of diversity, you're never going to be stuck in anything, because you know how to apply yourself to that thing the correct way, and then you apply yourself to something else a different way. And but 16 is an interesting number. I don't know why you picked 16, but it's funny thing is, I'm not sure what it's like with the different genders, but with men at 16, I feel like you sort of, it takes 20 years to go back to 16. It's a very interesting turning point. Another one probably at 30. But these are not places you want to go back to, but they're just points of reflection. They're pivoting points of a life where you want less resistance, less friction at that point. So you really need to give a 16-year-old freedom rather than... You'd have to be a very arrogant human being, even if you're a parent, to tell a 16-year-old what to do. That's an insanely selfish thing to do.
And I think that's actually something that makes a difference, because one of the reasons why I found, especially in work as well, I never shied away from if someone said, "Oh, do you want to try that?" Of course I want to try it. Like, "Oh, it's pretty boring. It's just like, cadence stuff." Yeah, try it. Like, "Oh, this is development." Yeah, try it. "Oh, do you want to do some sales? We're going to go see a client." I'll try it. Only through trying and experimenting on certain things will you know whether you like that thing or not. You can theorize, you can look at it from the side. Like, again, so many people look, "Oh, I'd love to be an actor. Oh, I'd love to be this famous person. I'd love to be that, Elon Musk, billionaire." Do you have any idea how fucked up his life schedule is? Will you accept those consequences, the T's and C's that come with it? And most of the time when, you go and ask someone who's, a stockbroker, an accountant, a business consultant, this and that, and you ask them, at 16, would you still tell your 16-year-old self to be this? And half of them would go, fuck no, because they didn't know. Some would, but some wouldn't. They'd go and say,
they probably mostly will say, I would, but yeah, they have learned some things along the way that. But I would have taken a year off every 7.
Exactly.
But I would have, tried for the management position a lot earlier because I was ready for it and I wasted my, or I would have, had children earlier, got married, whatever.
Yeah.
But hindsight's always 20/20.
Exactly.
So nobody goes through their life having nailed everything. But I don't think that's the point.
Experiment,
now,
play around with
I didn't answer something that was brought up about the energy and where you direct it, right? The young energy is a different energy because you're supposed to, I feel, this may be incorrect, but you are supposed to have the energy to experiment. So at 16 to say 23, 25, you have enough energy for all the things you could do in a day. Whereas at some point, you've picked what you have to do as the most important thing. You run out of energy for all the other stuff. So if that's the case, then I would probably want to make sure that you let someone know that wherever you point your energy, like I remember this from exercise, an interesting one. When I was at the gym, I used to do a workout, and I wasn't sure if I was like, am I supposed to do for this particular thing? Am I supposed to do this one, lat pull down, or am I supposed to do over rows, let's say, like that? But I used to sit there and I go, well, you know what? There is no way in God's green earth that doing this particular exercise is hurting. It might not be helping, but it can't be hurting. So then I'm going to commit to where I am now. So when I go to the next one, if this was the one I was supposed to do, I had done it correctly. Because you don't know which one is the waste of time, right? Therefore, you must apply yourself equally to both of them. And what happens when you have a lot of energy and you get a little bit manic about it, you go, this might not be it, I'm going to stop. I'm going to go do that, I'm going to go do that, I'm going to do that. And then you realize you didn't do any of them with enough energy in case one of them was the right one. Right?
Yep.
So I think it goes back to that energy. It goes back to applying yourself 100% to every task that you are on at the time of being on it. Only worrying about the task at hand more than anything else. There is a very famous productivity program that's been running for about 30 or 40 years called GTD, stands for Getting Things Done. And the man has something really interesting. He says, make some to-do lists. And people don't know what their lists are for, right? It's all good to put every single thing you have to do on one list and have to read it from top to bottom every single time to work out where to direct your energy, right? So he said, well, instead, you need to have lists where you can do something about the list. So you have an add home computer action list. So these are actions that you can only execute when you're at your home computer. Let's say you're sending a home email. You have to do it there. So then they build a system online where the at-home computer list never appears in front of you under any circumstances unless you're in the home computer. It just pops open. That's the first thing you read. And then you have a at work desk action where everything that you're supposed to do, because you can only do something about it at that desk. And it's a lot more complicated now. It's irrelevant. But I think that people don't do that very often. They don't, especially young people. They don't compartmentalize for productivity. They put things in compartments so it doesn't bother their brain instead. They put the emotional stuff in one bucket. They put the weekend with friends in one bucket, the study stuff in one bucket. But the truth is, that's still all weighing too heavily on your soul, just because you can handle it. Whereas, I think that the energy that they have can be very well used for anything. They want to learn a sport, they want to commit themselves to being in anything, or just the arts or learning or reading. They have to leave the school stuff at school, leave the home stuff at home, go to a library, spend time reading a book if they're focusing on something, and actually just do that, leave their phone at home if they have to or whatever. That's the thing I think would really be helpful for young energy, to try as much as they can to pay attention to the task at hand and really allocate different things, different times, and try to make sure they have no distractions when they're doing that.
I would agree.
It's easy in sport. Like if you're learning tennis, you got 2-hour tennis lesson. You aren't doing anything but hitting balls. It's very difficult to be distracted, but you don't converse with a friend down the side. So, but they don't do that in academic stuff. They don't do that in reading books. They don't do that if they want to be artists, for example, and they're trying to read about the history of an artist. If you don't read their life chronologically without any distractions, you miss the fact that they used to get exhausted and sit down a lot, or for example, and they write handwritten notes. So you need to find the way the book is going in order to capture the essence of the person rather than just hearing about their work.
I think that's the big problem with like today's day and age. We've got the way phones operate or computers. It's sequential, never sleeps, just keeps going, and then it multi-threads, like, I can do parallel tasks and all this stuff. And then you're always on, always available. There's never like, you have no moments of where you can just decompress. Because with humans, we're not computers. We suck at being computers. Yet every time everybody keeps saying, we want to be more productive. Sometimes to be the most productive, you need to know when to put in energy and when to rest and when to take that break. Your weekends don't always have to be a million miles an hour doing something. Your weekdays don't have to be exciting. Go read a book, do something. Sometimes do things that will recharge you, some things that will let your brain not be overburdened by the amount of shit you've got on, and then compartmentalize it. There's a time to rest, there's a time to work, there's a time to exercise.
100%.
And I think that's the way that it really draws you in the modern world, to be stressed, to be anxious, to be all of these things. I'm not a big advocate of always being on, and I'm in IT. I should be really I'm not. I'm probably the most anti about some things. Don't give kids, screen time early. Don't do this, don't do that. Because I see the way that it sets a habitual cycle or sets a certain process of thinking for people. And once you get into that process of thinking, it's very hard to get yourself out. So there's a lot we can learn from the old days, the more traditional views on how things work, because, again, I think there's a lot of anxiety just the way that tech operates, and we're trying to follow it, trying to replicate it. There's a time for the tech to do its thing. There's a time for people to be human. We need to be more human in today's day and age to actually make use of what we're good at. We're not good at being computers. They're already damn good at it. We're not going to be better.
I want to add a little something, if I might.
Sure.
I think another sidebar on this thing is we started with talking about, what do we do with the energy that we have? What direction you're going? Where do you point that energy? I think it's very interesting. It comes down to self-respect. A couple of things about that is young people need to realize that what the adults demand from them sounds absolutely absurd, because it is. Nothing about the way the egalitarian, money-hungry world works makes any sense to a human being who was born as an innocent, stunning human being who just observed the world, and happiness was something that was something shared with them, and the way children work. And they get to a point where they want to breach from childhood to adulthood, and they go, so you want to bury me in a box 6 days a week, then take me home, bury me into another situation that I basically can't get out of no matter how unhappy I am. You want me to give of myself every week, and I do this, 48 weeks of the year, and then other people tell me where to go for the other 4 weeks, and I have to drag other people around with me, and so on and so forth. And you want me to put all my dreams to the back burner if they don't immediately make money. Sorry, I don't want to play. And if that's the reaction they're having, is completely reasonable. That's the reason why we have antidepressants. It's because even the adults have decided after 40 years this is completely unreasonable. And it takes brass balls to step out of that. And I think if even a young person has the capacity to say, nope, that's not for me. So don't be afraid of mimicking the life of the person who inspires you. If you're inspired by a poet in the 17th century that you don't know where he lived, You don't know how much money he had. You don't know who he married. All you know is the extraordinary words that came from the possibly a drunk. Don't be so afraid of what you do or don't have. Be afraid of not creating good work. Because if you're inspired by a person who 300-400 years later somebody's reading like yourself and getting inspired from, the only reason 300 years from now no one's going to read your work is because your work is crap. And no one's going to care about where you live, what you're eating, what you wear, what car you drive, who you hang out with. Everything you worry about today, you're not going to be worrying about it 10 years from now. Just 10 years from now. And your plan is to inspire future generations of people hundreds of years from now. Well, hate to break it to you. If you don't remember them the way you remember them, But for me, it's a bit weird. I have people who inspire me. I remember what they wear. So I like the way back then, even the person dressed like a gentleman, but he had his own personal character. Like, let's say the person wore cravats all the time. That's just what he wanted to do, and that's what he loved. Then you look at a character like the gentleman whose name escapes me, he was on MasterChef, and he decided to wear cravats, which is nobody else does. He couldn't care less. This is his character, and I promise you, it's because when he was a kid, something somewhere told him, this is who you are, right? He doesn't owe anybody an explanation, and those are usually the people who are most themselves are the people who usually inspire the people the most. I mean, nobody wants to get into cars or tech or shooting rockets, but they might look at Elon Musk and go, you know what? If he's going to think that I can shove that many things into 24 hours, I should stop complaining that I can run my business around the corner because I don't have enough time in a day. Like, you'd have to have really big balls to say something like that. Sorry, my laundromat's closed down. Why is that? I didn't have enough time in the day. That's ridiculous. Everyone gets 24 hours in a day. I remember one supermodel was talking about when she did a TED Talk, and she had absolutely no time. She was working so hard. She could only go to the gym from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. That was it. That's all she could fit. But her entire career, life dependent on being able to have a body at peak condition at the time of her working. That's it. She had children. She was traveling. She, running a very big business around the world. And I don't know. Or just change your parameters and shut the fuck up. You can't have it both ways. You know what I mean? The thing I don't understand is the complaining. Oh, sorry, it's not exactly the way it should be where everybody could succeed. Well, I don't understand why hearing about that is interesting to me. I know you're alleviating yourself of that thing. So my point is, if you're finding what you want to do impossible in the circumstances you're in, change your circumstances. If you find what you're doing, what you want to do impossible because you find it impossible, except that you can't do it, or whatever it may be. Either way, I don't think people need to hear about it. So that's another thing. So that would be my goal. You don't owe anyone anything. Try to make sure that nobody can hear you complaining, especially yourself, which is very difficult. Find who inspires you and only aim for that, One more thing before I forget. Sorry, man.
No, all good.
People who have never done something can only teach you how not to do it. Learning not to do it does not tell you what to do. This is critically important. So, I want to be a lawyer. Dad is a businessman, sells furniture. I don't know about that. Why? Oh, I tried going to law school and, life gets in the way and, the pay is not what you think it is, so don't do it. Okay. Did that teach you how to become a lawyer?
No.
So who can tell you how to become a lawyer?
A lawyer.
Exactly. So unless you have the correct perspective, you may still decide to do it or not do it or whatever the case may be. But, learning what not to do, that's very easy advice to get. You can get it from absolutely anyone, right? Because all of those people have succeeded in not doing it. They're very good at it. They're going to tell you precisely how not to do whatever the hell your goal is.
Yeah.
And you find very few people who know exactly how to do it, even if it was extraordinarily difficult. You want to know how to be an actor? Go and ask an actor. Don't even ask your acting teacher at school. That person didn't make it. Unless you want to be an acting teacher at school. And I know some people who actually did. Their love was to be a theater teacher, because of being able to get the kids to do what they're supposed to do and make future stars. Right? Where you aim, it doesn't have to be high to be admirable. You just have to land where you're shooting. That's admirable, I think.
I have something to build on that as well. But, I didn't really think about it, but I love how you said accept the consequences, like the good and the bad.
100%.
That is something that never crossed my mind.
Whatever is supposed to happen, it will come to you.
Yep.
It will come at your door. The police will come at your door. $1 million will come at your door. Yep. All rewards, all responsibility. Mm-hmm. It will fall on your shoulders.
It's pretty much like Einstein said, every action has an opposite and equal reaction. Everything that you will put in...
That was Newton.
Oh, that one. Everything that you put in, you'll get out of it.
Don't know if I agree with that.
You reckon?
It's true for the laws of the universe, of course.
Mm.
But you can put in a shitload of work and get absolutely nothing out of it because our society sucks.
I love how you just...
Don't forget that it's not a given that just because you work hard. Plus, life doesn't reward hard work. It rewards the right work.
Correct.
And I love how you just went onto that point, because I actually have a question on that.
Okay.
Having resilience and striving to always do better is great. But there are times where everything you're doing is not working out. To what degree should you keep working, and when should you actually give up?
Good question. You should give up now.
While I'm ahead, before I'm in cuffs, again. Again.
You should give up now because we're running out of bail money.
Bitch, better have my money. Look, I think there's two points of view on this that I myself have either experienced or seen from people close to me. When to give up, number one, is if what you're doing you cease to believe in. So if you don't really believe in the business you're doing, you don't have that, drive to be, in a band, or you don't have the drive to work in that industry or something like that, don't do it. That's very simple. If you don't believe in it, don't do it. Because even, let's look at it from a practical sense. If you're doing a half-assed job as a bricklayer or an accountant or a developer or something like that, someone who is more energetic, more belief in that, you might be taking their spot. Move aside, find something for you that you believe in, and let that person go in there. He will go and run through walls for that opportunity. And that's unfortunately nowadays in some industries, some areas, especially here in Australia, there is a lack of opportunity for people who do have the energy, the vigor for certain things, and people who have been in there for 20 years who are completely burnt out, don't want to be in there, are still staying because I need to get paid, but I hate it. Sometimes you need to know when you cease to believe in something, find something new. And you'll be happier. There'll be happier people, and there'll be more opportunity for other people who want to do that. Second point of view for me is, even if you believe in something wholeheartedly, there is a point, I think, where it's not your soul or your brain or your heart that tells you to give up. It's actually your body. There's a point where certain things, and this is more from a sports perspective, like let's say I do fighting, same as some of the boxers, MMA fighters, all that stuff. There's a point where no matter how much you want to go and compete and you want to go and you think you have the experience, you have the knowledge, but the body just isn't following it. There's a point where if you keep doing it, you will be inflicting so much damage to you, irreparable damage to you, that there's no point of getting in the ring. Yes, you're tough. Yes, you have the experience. But at what cost? And again, it's accepting the cost. If you want to be a vegetable CTE later on in life, accept the consequences. But there's a point where the body, even in, work, like some people just get so burnt out, their body, it's not that they don't believe in what they're doing. Their body just cannot handle it. They haven't slept. They've got so much stress. They might have developed substance abuse or something like that. And the body just goes, yeah, I'm checking out. And at that point, I think once you get to that point, it's very hard to come back. So there needs to be that leading view of, is my body starting to fail me by doing this? Sometimes you need to take that holiday. Sometimes you need to step back. Sometimes take a demotion, go into something a little less stressed so you can recharge to go back. But I think those are the two views that I see. When you cease to believe in it, or when your body starts to kick it.
Interesting you say that. Now, I had something very similar. But in my point of view, it's when there's only so much hard work you can put into something, and especially if you work for an employer and you're putting all this effort and you go to them, you pretty much put it on their desk and they don't even look at it, they just say, nah, and they go back to their computer. I've seen it time and time and time again.
Oh, yeah.
And I hate it every time, because the person that brings all this hard work and their effort, and especially when they have that energy, like I said before, you have all that energy, where do you point it? That's why these questions are actually lined up the way they are. Now, is it time for you to give up with that specific company and shift over? Because you have the energy, you want to do good, you want to do better. But there is literally a gate and they're stopping you. Is that when it's time? Is it a right move?
Depends on the situation. Because I've seen bits where you can navigate around that, or you can well, not convince, but you find a bigger fish that actually advocates for you, that removes that roadblock. There are ways, especially in corporate, there's ways to, it's a lot of politics, a lot of pathfinding, navigating. But I believe if the entire company, for example, you walk into, imagine company A, company B, you walk into a company and everybody they want to be at that place. They all work well together. You have a good team. You have a good vibe. You go in there. It's like, coming to these podcasts. You're excited because you're with the boys. You're there, whatever. Even if there's a challenge or a roadblock, you don't necessarily feel bad or disheartened. I believe company B, that second line, is where you walk in, everybody hates the place. Everybody kind of accepts that the place is, falling apart around you. They're just buying their time. They're going. Like the one solid thing that I find really easy to tell about if a place is good or bad is if they try to manicure the external image, but the internal image is completely different. And also people are like, yeah, I'm just sitting here till my redundancy. They're literally waiting to just get, fired. They're waiting to, retire. That is a place that's dying. You walk in there, you really think those people are going to advocate for you? They don't have any more energy. You can't spark any more energy out of them. They're already at retirement. They're gone. So company A, even if you come to a challenge, you'll find a way to figure it out. People have the energy. People have the drive. People have the want. They believe, as I said before, they believe that they will be working to something. Company B, that place is a place where you go to die. Or it might pay well, but know that the T's and C's with that is you aren't going to be innovating. You're not going to be going forward. And yes, in chaos, you have opportunity to improve, but you can't do it alone. Like there is no way that in order to change a system and make it better in your view, you must be willing to tear the old one down. And tearing the old one down, the old system, means there's a lot of people fighting back. So if you come to resistance that you're changing a company, changing a structure, changing a team, changing a way that they're thinking, a lot of them are in a position of holding pattern, and they don't want to shake the boat, because if you shake the boat, you can't make risks. You take risks. And with risks, you could get fired. You could be exposed that you don't actually do as great a job as you make it out to be. When you tear that system down, there'll be fight back. So I always say, in order to be in an innovative company, it needs to be one where they accept the change. They are prepared for change. If they don't want to change, they're very immutable to change. you are going to have a uphill battle unless you have someone who's with more influence, a decision maker, someone who has sway and pull. If you're low level, doesn't matter how great the idea is, it gets killed.
Funny, interesting you say that actually, because future-wise, I want to be a trainer assessor in the field that I am working in currently. Now, this is literally going to be my pitch to get the job. I will literally be like, hey, do you want the person that is going to regurgitate exactly what the textbook is, and when health is improving, they don't improve with the times, and the feedback they get, they just dump it in the bin? Or would you like the trainer is literally be like, hey, what can we do to help you students? And forcing the information to the employer, be like, hey, we need this. Even if it gets rejected, I don't care. I need these for the students. As an employer, I would love that. Like, even if I, turn them down 99% of the time, but if they keep doing that, the resilience of keep doing that for improvement, that is an employee to have, because they're doing work way beyond of their paycheck.
If you do the value and it provides value, yeah. If it makes more paperwork for them or it makes it more problematic for them, I guarantee you the managers will be like, I don't want to. Unless that manager is a good manager, that manager will be, if he's good or she, they will take that on and be like, this guy's got initiative. This guy's got something he wants to do. This is amazing. If it's a bad manager, they don't want extra work. As long as you can cover it and they pay you the same, they don't give a fuck. They'll be like, cool, do whatever you want. As soon as you require them to change something, do something, or something comes back on them with more work, you'll have a problem. So if you can front that up and push that, you can definitely do that. And again, that's something you believe in, that you want to improve the outcomes, you want to improve the learning, then do that. If your intention was to get more money, be this, that, or whatever, or get that, that's a different motivation. But I think your motivation is good, where you're doing it to be not like everyone else. Because you went through that learning experience. You saw what was bad about it. You saw that they were just textbook regurgitating.
Was dog shit.
And it's boring. It's bad shit. And it's not really like good in terms of the students don't get any extra value.
Hear me out. I'm going to expose them for a little bit because I was actually like upset. Now, imagine you're going to class and they have all this theory, all this knowledge. Great. Good on you. When it comes to the practical, they're like, hey, we'll watch this video and then you'll learn it at the prac. When that is, in work placement, when you actually go on the job. Why don't we practice now? Why don't we have actual consumables in class
Practical.
so we can actually have a look at it, touch it, feel it, see what it is, see what it looks like. So when we actually go on placement,
you don't look confused and out of place.
We don't look like bums because we haven't even seen it, we haven't touched it, we've never worked with it.
Yep.
Now there was some equipment, even now I haven't even seen.
Yeah.
And it's been a year.
Yep.
That's insane, bro. That is insane. And it's a qualification that takes 18 months. You qualify and all that, and you're pretty much pushed into the industry. And depending on where you go, in some places you actually still don't know. I know people in that job that have been doing it for 5 years. I asked them a couple of questions that are in the textbook. They're like, what is that? They're like, what is that? I don't know what it is. Because the learning it's not there. It's not there. It's not taught properly. And I want to teach it properly. And the only reason where I am is so I can get that experience. So when I do my own thing, I'm going to teach it properly. No one's going to pass without them knowing what the fuck they're doing. That's my motivation. Sorry, I had to go on a tangent there.
This man is a teacher.
I have to be, man. I do love teaching. I actually do enjoy teaching like these young kids, man. Back when I was 16, 17, like I said, I had so much energy, but no one really showed me where to point it. Back then, like the reason why I got into cars was because my car broke down. Literally, like think of that. My car broke down and I was like, I'm never going to buy another car until I know the ins and outs of cars. I went on YouTube, researched the hell out of every single car, how to fix this, how to fix that, how to fix that. I started fixing cars in my garage, in my backyard, with my dad sometimes. And I just built to a stage where I can literally build engines now. And
at what like time did you start that? Like when did you start learning?
14 probably.
14.
Yeah.
Difference for me, my dad was a mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
He had all that. At 5,
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty much working on cars,
Mm-hmm.
stripping things, this and that, building things on cars, fixing them.
Mm.
That's the difference between, I was kind of given the opportunity to experiment. Now, if I hated it, I wouldn't have followed it down the track as I went. But my dad knew that. He was able to show me that. And I was like, damn, I really do love this. And I went with it. For you, it took you till 14 to get in there. And then you went from a different motivation, but it got you in there where you love it. I know you love cars. We've had chats about this all the time. That's the gap. And that's the risk, I think, of some people who don't find the right person who potentially knows something about what they're doing or what they want to do or what they're inspired to be like, you know. You will have that gap where you'll have to stumble upon it yourself. Now, we're lucky in today's day and age, the internet exists. But back in the day, I mean... Nothing. My dad used to tell me the things he had to experiment with. He had to go ask people. He learned welding. He went to a welding shop to go learn welding. Yeah. Or he would, in order to learn something he used to like develop things on computers. He was doing that as part of his school. You had to read a fucking textbook. Like, a textbook's this fucking big. You didn't Google search anything. You didn't have it. So back then it was harder. But I think the same principles apply today where if you want to learn something, go talk to a person who is that. Call them, email them, message them on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever. But people are like, I don't want to disturb them. I don't know if they'll reply. Send it. Either they reply or they don't. Then you'll know. You can move on. But I think back then they were a lot more braver to experiment, to go ask, to go look for people because they had to. There was no other way. Now, because the internet exists, we kind of get a little lazy, but we almost have a bias view on what we're learning. You only look at what you have access to, what you can find on Google, blah, blah, blah. You only have a perspective. And you read it and you interpret it in your way. You don't necessarily have that other angle where, like you said, the people who have been in the field, people who've done those things can tell you, look, this is how the textbook looks like, but this is how we see it in real life. Or I've seen that's not entirely true. Or you've got the way that you've interpreted in your head is a little wrong. This is how you should look at it, boom, boom, boom. So they can correct some of the biases that we have in how we research. Because again, the internet, it will send you 20 articles on what your question, how you structured your question. It will send you 20 articles that answer that question to a T. Doesn't necessarily mean it's 100% right, that answer or those articles that are there. But it's skewing it in the favor of what's listed highest. That's how the search engine works. You definitely need to look at broader views, broader sources, things that, again, someone who's written something 100 years ago or 50 years ago and it's still being used today usually is going to be valuable. Why is it still being used? Because it's valuable. They wouldn't fucking use it if it wasn't valuable. So it's very easy in today's day and age with how Instagram works that, you know, you get the thing that's trendy, the thing that's sexy.
Here's the thing now. What you said, perfect. Here's the problem now. The internet is a fucking shit show. And you can't learn everything from there. The best way to learn is through experimentation.
Correct.
And the only way you're going to learn is through bullshit. And the only way I learned was I bought a Kia Rio. That was my first.
Yeah.
That was my
Grab a
first car. I broke the gearbox and like completely fucked the engine at the exact same time. I don't even know how. Like it was a shit show. So I blew the gearbox. It was stuck in gear. Then I got it towed to my house, and I was trying to diagnose it in my shitty ass way of driving it and trying to shift.
And you killed the...
I killed the motor because I was just dumping the clutch just to keep it. And then I found out, so I had no engine oil, because it was never serviced. I didn't know that. I drove it around for like 6-7 months with no engine oil.
It still did die. So that's, it took 6-7 months to die.
Yeah. I don't know how I blew the gearbox, but I blew it. Literally, like on the tow truck, all the gearbox oil just went all over the flatbed. So yeah, it was quite a great experience. Then can't remember what the next car was. Oh, I've had so many cars, man. I've had so many cars. But yeah, then when I bought my next car, that's when I was like, oh, that's how you service it. Learn to service. The car after that, oh, that's how you change this shit. Okay.
Iteration.
Yeah, and then I just kept flipping cars and just learnt on every single one. And now I've got this Nissan Skyline that I'm building the engine on, and I've got the Cressida with the 1J. Fucking mint, bro. I love them. But yeah, no. We're actually going to do this. So future-wise,
Oh, yeah.
we are going to build these 2 cars, finish them up, and I'm going to document everything. Yeah. Busy man. Busy man. You okay?
I agree with you 100%. Especially the last 17 points made by Serge.
Yes.
My man.
100%.
Yes, Pipsy mix.
Pips mix.
But neither of you talked about when to quit.
Yes.
Actually, I
don't
did.
I don't
For a little bit.
No, you mentioned about what to do not to quit, how many different avenues you can go down, how you can climb the ladder, how you can fix things that maybe, and it's all fantastic. I definitely do agree with all of it. And I just want to iterate that I think the point you should quit anything is when absolutely 100% of what you and some of the people you respect can think of that may progress you further towards exactly the set of circumstances you may be looking for have been exhausted. If you are completely satisfied that that is the case, then 100% that's time to quit, because that's just what my point is. From the things you can control in a situation, is there any more contribution you can make to the bits that you can control? If there isn't really, then you're just waiting for someone to, chop your neck off on the block. So the people you respect and yourself have, and time has given you enough opportunity to exhaust every single one of those things. You may think, I have to go to my boss and talk to him privately. This has to happen. I think that'll make a difference. Don't quit until you've had the chance to do that. And then, okay, you've done that, and you wrote the letter, you wrote the email, you tried to do a better job, you hit all your marks, whatever it is that your circumstances, everybody, the things you have to do to make something like a job precisely what can feed your life progress the best, that's really circumstantial. You have to try to mold it into what it has to be for you. And I think that if you feel like you've done everything you possibly can, and then the universe says, I have something else for you. Just give me a chance to give it to you. I can't give you twice at the same time. So
sometimes we gotta keep our eyes open. I think for certain things that pop up, it almost feels like the universe is feeding it on a silver platter. Like I've had situations where I sat there and went, why did I have a conversation with this person? Or why did this happen? Or why did I get that outcome from someone?
I'm asking that myself right now. Why am I having a conversation with this people?
Why are you here? But sometimes it's an opportunity in disguise. The hand of the universe is opening.
From the great.
Well, maybe you're just wearing a wire and you're just trying to incriminate this guy. Speak into the mic.
I'm only here to receive the shipment that was coming. I think it was the 3rd of
humans. I didn't say anything about humans.
Don't worry, we have very good business.
We take care of it.
No, it's хорошо. It's no problem.
Don't worry about it.
Очень хорошо. We will sort this out. Later we go to Fremantle. We go get the container.
Oh, those Fremantle containers are freaky.
Oh,
you drive past them at night. You're like, did I hear something this song?
Man, like help!
Open the door. Oh,
damn.
Now, speaking of crime,
crime.
Yes.
Where are we going with this, mate? I thought that some topics were off the table.
No, this one's very not.
No, it's under the table. Under the table deal. God damn.
Okay.
Fuck.
Sure. Now,
Oh no. Oh no.
being a civilian is a scam, and I'll tell you why.
Oh no.
Now,
I don't like where this is going.
I don't know. I don't know what this is going, but I don't like it.
no, but like, hear me out. Okay. Now, the life of a worker does 9 to 5, and it's actually a slave in disguise. If you really think about it, they do a 9 to 5. They get home 6 o'clock or whatever. They're tired, so they're forced to either live with family or a partner, which means
Or alone.
or alone. That means
In a dark room. Anyway, continue.
in a very dark room.
I have
No
lights,
lights.
goddammit.
No lights. Anyway.
I have candles.
For what? The rituals? Anyway, go on.
God damn.
Ask your question. Ask your question.
But then you're pretty much put in a situation where is there really free will? Think about it.
That's a big leap. Where did you? What?
No,
Damn.
Hold
Where
on.
did you go?
Hold on.
What?
I'll make my argument.
What
I'll make
the
my argument.
Okay.
I'll make my argument because okay.
Don't make an argument. Make your point.
Okay, fine. I'll make my point.
Okay.
So you're living by yourself. You're going 9 to 5 to your job,
Yeah.
5-6 days a week.
Yep.
You don't have time for yourself. You don't have
Yeah.
time for anything else.
Okay.
Because you're paying your bills, you're paying all of that,
Yeah.
and then you pay taxes. The more you work,
Yes.
the more taxes you pay,
Yes, sir.
right?
Avoid taxes. Anyway, go on.
The rich does that, obviously. So the harder you work,
Don't. Okay.
like what's the incentive for you to work so hard?
What the fuck does that have to do with free will?
Here's the thing. Now, if you commit any crime, right, you're pretty much
I see. I see where you go.
any crime, whatever it is, you're literally right there and then given a house, given a bed, given an hour of sunlight, given a routine.
Just
Right?
don't drop
You-
the soap.
And give it a root.
A free one too.
A free one. Every time you shower.
Fucking.
Todd gets in jail because this is more action than I was getting outside.
That's why they called me handsome.
Oh, fuck.
Fucking hell.
we need a break.
God damn.
That's why they call me handsome. That's all that. That's a good gag. That's funny.
A gag, you
That's
say.
funny.
You'll be gagging in the showers.
Jesus Christ.
Look,
What the fuck was the question?
you're saying
There's no question.
No.
That's it? You're just making the statement that sometimes you work and then sometimes you go home and it's better to go to jail and you have no free will and you should commit a crime. What the fuck are you talking
Yes,
about?
commit a crime because it's actually better for you.
Okay.
Yeah, like you don't pay taxes. Like, cool.
Just you should commit a crime and go to jail because you don't want to pay taxes. Just
Fuck
quit
yeah.
your job and you don't have to pay taxes.
Exactly.
Then I'll be homeless. It's different.
But you won't be playing.
Centrelink doesn't pay enough for houses these days, bro.
Is that every single human being who's on Centrelink benefits would be on the streets, you dumbass?
Look, I think what he's saying, to quote a Brooklyn Story, the movie, the working class man is a sucker. No, look, I think
I haven't seen that movie.
you haven't seen that movie. It's
Also,
fucking look. I think your point is a very big stretch.
you said 7 different things, right? You're saying capitalistic basic jobs are modern slavery.
Yes.
That's 100% correct.
Yes.
No
We agree.
question. That there are prisons outside of prison, such as the 9 to 5 family, all that sort of things. 100%, no questions about it. Some people are happier in prison. There's no question.
Yeah.
Then you also don't want to pay taxes. Which fuck that fits.
I'll make it fit.
It's like, he's giving an address at the UN, he finishes speaking, then he goes, also, yeşkimeş, pipsimek. Walks out.
just slam the book like, fuck it.
The car that's picking me up is blue. Goodbye.
It's like, what kind of message is he trying to send to the UN?
Blue? Is he saying we should be greener? No. What is your problem with taxes?
There's no problem with taxes. I would
Bullshit, there's no problem. You just made it very clear you got a problem.
You got a
with
problem
taxes.
with taxes.
I will explain my point.
You said you should go to jail instead of paying taxes.
I'll
No problem with taxes.
I have no problem, but I want to go to
That's
jail.
my statement. No. Here's my point. Now, the taxes, they're obviously put in some sort of category, and okay, this much percentage goes to health, this much percentage goes into this, right? But do we actually know how much and where it's actually going?
Fucking precisely.
We do, actually.
In this country, we know it down to the last cent.
Whether it's going to the right buckets or anything
Yeah.
of value, that's a different
Yes,
statement entirely.
there's a bullshit amount of it going to, like military spending, and we don't even have an army.
Yeah, we have a defense force, for
Not,
God's sakes.
not the same thing.
Yeah.
Also,
Which means we can't go to war with anyone. We can only defend other countries when they call us. Yes.
also, what's even more hilarious is the amount of equipment sitting there
Yeah.
going, we don't have people to use it,
them,
right?
but we bought them
But we
anyway.
bought it, so it's sitting there. It's taxpayers' money.
Seriously, war memorabilia, war material is like Costco to the government. They buy in bulk.
Just leave it on the we don't have anybody to man this
There's no
shit.
expiry
but
date
fuck
on it.
Put Windex on it.
Oh no,
so-
there is an expiry date on it, but doesn't matter. They'll get sold later or given to Ukraine like a surplus.
I think they were sold petrol submarines instead of nuclear ones.
Funny.
That's how they. Seriously, the rest of the world's just laughing.
This whole
You got some spare shit? Call Australia. They'll take it.
Australia does not have the greatest.
They're not going to use it
military,
anyway. Fucking,
procurement.
don't even put an engine in the car. They won't use it. They won't turn it on.
It's actually maddening how much money gets wasted, and government in general has so much wastage. But it's the way that the budgets work. Really, nobody wants to give back
So,
money.
do you want to have a conversation about money? Because I'll ask you an interesting question.
Sure.
Yeah,
go for
because
it.
that there was a very strange stretch of I want to go to jail because I hate
All right.
taxes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So, ignoring the going to jail part.
Yes.
There's a point where where the English arrived in Australia.
Yeah.
Okay.
yep.
They took the land.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
They brought over from England many building materials. They used the building materials that were in this country. They used the people who were in this country, and they built things. They kept building them, and then they brought commerce here. They brought pounds and shillings and crowns and things like that on boats and everything they had over there in England, which they had already paid for. And then they started building businesses. They sent people here specifically for jobs. They said convicts, obviously, so they have people to build the buildings. They weren't getting paid. Then they started sending judges and people for court and so on. They started paying them in England because there wasn't money here. And then eventually, the commerce here became what it should be. Then we had Australian money, so on and so forth. How did the government get in debt?
That's a very interesting question.
I'm gonna let you answer your thoughts because I know this one.
Now, obviously, to build a country, it's going to cost a lot.
Why? Everything is free. 100% of what's in this country, including the iron ore, everything they have, all the resources, they inherited the whole country. They inherited a continent's worth of wealth. That would have made England 50 times richer than they used to be, not $1 trillion poorer. Plus, they created a bank that prints the money. How could they possibly be in debt to themselves?
Doesn't it cost more money to make money?
Yes, it does, but it's arbitrary. So let's say, you know why it's arbitrary? Instead of printing $100 bills, they could just print $1,000 bills. Doesn't make any difference. They make up the money out of absolute nothing. So my point is, what was the point of not just what was the point? How did they get in debt? Because they owned everything. You are in debt because you buy the land. They didn't fucking buy the land. They got the country for free. They got the entire workforce for free. They did trades with other countries that made them money. They sold the sheep, they sold the wool, they sold the lamb, they sold the beef, that's before they even started mining. Right? If anything, we should be like Dubai, getting checks from the government, not the other way around. Right? How did the government get in debt? By the way, there is an answer.
I can't say what I'm thinking right now because it doesn't make sense to me right now.
Try it out.
No.
Because the answer is nonsense. So
It is nonsense.
it's very likely that your stupid answer is correct.
Oh,
Because it is nonsense, believe me.
okay.
The question wouldn't be interesting if the answer was just a normal answer. I
Yeah,
wouldn't be
it's like,
asking.
oh, they're in debt because they,
They're in debt because
to the
they
Martians.
No,
Yeah.
they're in debt because they borrowed money. You fucking idiot. Okay, fair enough. Sorry. My bad.
My bad.
I'll just be
I
over
would
there.
say it's strategically designed that way so that the workers are always working.
He fucking nailed it.
You got it, my friend.
Absolutely. So let me get back to your when should I quit my job thing. So it was relevant, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about now the debt society. Medicis started the idea by giving people a debt on money they had already given them. It was very clever, very interesting.
Yep.
They said, we'll keep your gold and we'll charge you interest to give it back to you.
Yep.
Interestingly, when they first asked the people to come and cultivate their land, like the Italians and so on, it was the case where you grabbed the flag and as far as you could ride, you could stick that flag in the land was yours.
Yep.
Even they got their land for free. It's ridiculous. When did we just decide, oh, you should all be in debt? Yeah. We decided that when people couldn't be fucked working.
Yep.
I see.
I think I'll work 1 day a week, thanks. Why is that? I got all the food I need. Oh, shit. You mean people don't work when they don't have to?
And then how do people who have this,
Now-
overseeing?
Now, if they work and they get paid a lot of money for what they do, what will they do with that money? Well, they'll buy houses. When they own their house and own their car, what are they going to do? Well, they're going to start working. Well, that can't happen.
So they need to make it
Let's
more.
pay them fuck all. And let's make everything extremely expensive to the point where they have to borrow money for it. And then let's charge them so much interest and give them so many years to pay it back that they'll forget why they bought the fucking house in the first place.
Correct.
Then let's convince them one of the best things you can do is to work your ass off, kill your entire life so another generation can benefit. Let's tell them we'll give their kids and then after 100 years take it back off them.
Yep.
I just had a picture in my head.
Worse or worse, make the kid pay taxes on having to receive the house the father left him.
Inheritance tax. It's fucked.
No, not inheritance tax. It has to pay the stamp duty.
Yeah.
The inheritance tax is different. That's if they sell it. My point is the house your father left you is not yours for free.
Exactly.
If the government still wants money from you for having forced your father to work his entire life to pay for it.
Yep.
Now, what's interesting is this. The people who are stuck in that rat race deserve it. Because they have the same brains as the humans who invented the idea. Why don't you just tell them to go fuck themselves? Do you know why? Greed. So they deserve it. And you want a choice? You can tell them to go fuck themselves. And if you think that makes you go hungry and shit, you're dreaming. 4 wheels on a car with an engine that works gets you anywhere you want to go. The coffee, the beach, all this shit costs next to nothing. You ask somebody, I used to ask a friend of mine, why do you work so much? So, because you know what? Because I want a good life. I said, well, what constitutes a good life? I want to be able to go have a coffee. I want to take a walk down the beach, only do work a couple of hours a day, and have enough money to drive the car I want and go to a travel holiday that I want, whatever. I said, that's interesting, right? You've been describing yourself as 28. You're 45. You got there by 28. The fuck are you still working for? Oh, well, I don't like the suburb I live in. I want to live in the suburb next to me in a slightly bigger house. I said, how many bathrooms do you shit in, mate? How many beds do you sleep in?
That's what I never understood
How many
about
fucking
rich
cars?
people. The mansions have 17 rooms.
Okay.
And 36 bathrooms.
So
What the fuck?
Yeah, but so tell me, working gives you purpose. And shut the fuck up. stop pretending like working isn't what you want to do, because almost everyone in this world does exactly what they want to do. What they want to do is to go to work and complain about it. If they stop working, they will lose the opportunity to complain about working, which is their favorite thing to do. It's their game. You can't take it away from them. You know, like, I think if cigarettes weren't killing you, most people wouldn't smoke.
It's a hot take. I actually kind of agree.
Yeah. Because they want to be a little irresponsible. They want to come across a little bit rebellious, whatever the reason is. But tell people cigarettes are extremely good for you. They're like you know, they're like having Panadol. It'll fix your headache. It's such a weak thing to do. Only weak people do it.
Nobody will
Most
do
people
it.
will stop smoking.
Yeah.
Tell them it's going to kill you and put pictures of people dying on it. They'll be like, yeah, that's the dangerous shit I want to do. So...
Don't touch the electric wire. I'll touch the electric wire. It's like, fuck, if you put it just a normal fence, nobody would fucking touch it.
Funny you say that.
So the debt culture is created by the people who take out the debt, not by the people who are giving it out.
Yeah.
No, funny you say that, but bring it back a little bit to working and people being miserable and wanting to complain about their work.
Right.
Now, Moose and I had a chat, I think it was yesterday or the day before. The days are merging for me.
You gotta stop it
Stop what?
when the Q-tip goes too deep.
Anyways.
Your friends, you gotta stop when there's resistance.
Stop. When you can't hear anything.
Yeah. Me and Moose have this mentality of we can do any job. I can literally pick up any job and every job and I'll still have fun doing it. I won't have the bullshit complaining about it.
Can I tell you the job you could do that you'd have the most fun doing? Being a priest. You'd fucking love it. And you know what I think? This asshole would actually be good at it. Like, he would be a kind of priest that the community likes. He will listen to them. He'll be a bit fucked up, but, you know, he'll be a little bit, as we know what's wrong with him. But he could be
Sheikh Tahir.
Sheikh Tahir.
You would be the
Wallahi,
coolest one.
wallahi.
You would be going and playing basketball with the kids, like doing dunks, ankle breakers,
yeah,
and kids
boy.
would respect you. Right?
And then on Fridays,
I'll rock up with my E63.
Doing burnouts
wait a minute.
in Allah's name. Stuff for a laugh.
I don't know why you're laughing. That's probably describing a typical sheikh in some countries. E63 burnouts.
Yeah, bro, you're giving me a dream. I have
He's
stopped.
gonna be.
I have stopped being a teacher, and I'm now going to study religion.
Yeah, and I'm going to be a rabbi. That's fine. Only because I enjoy the shit hanging off their shirts. You know,
Which shit?
you know the stuff, the strings off their.
Oh, yeah.
I thought there was shit that was coming out their mouth.
No, there isn't. There's shit coming out of the corner. there.
okay.
Yeah.
What are you gonna? You have to be a Catholic priest.
No, I'm gonna be a cat burglar. Like, fuck.
A cat burglar.
I want to go steal shit. Fuck.
Wait a minute. What kind of religious leader steals shit? There's got to be one that fits. his guy.
I can't seem to think.
Right? Was it the really good people crusades? No, it had a different name. Sorry.
Yeah, the really good Holy Crusade.
The Holy Crusade, the really nice people crusades.
They were so good at it. They did it 6 times.
They were so nice too. They just arrived, hugs and kisses for everybody.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Those pictures were definitely not people screaming.
They were not people.
No, or being burnt alive.
Screams of joy.
Yes, they were happy to see him.
All they wanted was make bonfires. It's not their fault people go jumping in it. Talking about quitting your job, how about those guys? How are the guys that have to execute that shit? Did they think about quitting their job once in a while?
And they enjoyed their job so much. Like, you know, they're just going out there hacking and slashing like that.
Throw them down the well.
Damn.
Could you please relocate these stones from here to there? Yes. Could you please make sure there's a human being underneath it?
Or like, for example, when you look at pirates, like privateers, that would be just some fun ass shit. A whole bunch of people like, hey, do you want to go explore the world, go raid and pillage and like go steal some treasure? Yeah, sure, no worries. Hey, we'll have rum too. whole bunch of like guys just went, fuck it, let's go. And they went for like 6 months somewhere, and there you go.
That's literally how the Vikings worked.
Yeah. None of them were unhappy with their job. They were just living in the moment.
They're like, all they ate was meat, and they're like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it.
I just remembered something that's completely off topic.
Go for it.
It's not off topic, but it's back on a previous topic to do with loans. Do you want to hear it?
I thought checks, but anyway, continue. I was getting excited.
It's enough. We're getting to a territory where, we don't want to get into trouble.
Hey,
I'm always in trouble. But
I've left my job. I got nobody to cancel me now, so I don't care. Go on then. Carry on.
So there was a lawsuit once where a man worked out that at the time of purchasing his home, the bank didn't, when they closed the sale and he got the loan, the money that were paid to the people who did the settlement didn't come from the bank. It came from the bank that the bank borrowed the money from.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
So, being fractional, they were able to do that. That's actually how they execute them. And legally, in the paperwork, it was not a binding contract because the lender didn't actually have the money that they lent. So he got away with it. Didn't have to pay his mortgage. He got his house. Yes.
Mortgage.
Yep. Because the mortgage was null and void. And he found that out when he was being threatened to foreclose. So that story is good. You can, I don't want to give details. You can look up the details and find it quite easily. But it's important to realize that the House of Cards is absolute horseshit. And if you decide you don't want to have anything to do with it, there are thousands of examples where you can get away with it. There's a man in Western Australia who decided, you know what, screw this place. I think my house is a better country than their country. So he made his own country.
Yeah.
He has his own money. He has his own territory. He has his own everything. He pays his own taxes.
State.
It's a sovereign state. And there are several like that in the world. It's just really silly that we think that the laws and rules and regulations are created by people who are so incredibly intelligent, they got everything right. There are countries around the world where they screwed up so badly that there is an entire city section inside one country that belongs to 3 countries that are nowhere near it.
Yep.
4 countries over, that's your country there. We can't touch that. Then they can't drive on it. They have to drive around it. If a few children played in this house, in this room, and then just had to think, whatever would happen, the stupid crap that you get up to, don't touch my thing, that's my line, your thing. That's exactly how the world actually works. Because it is run by a bunch of children who happen to grow up and wear suits instead of, nappies. But in that sense. So, last interesting question. One of the main reasons the government constantly claims they can't do something is their debt level. They're always talking about the debt level. They're either in surplus or in deficit or something. They're always somehow in debt. Ignoring the fact that it's extremely weird that they're in debt in the first place, because they also collect a lot of money and they can never get out of debt for some reason. Well, there is a reason. Imagine if they got out of debt. There'll be a lot of questions. Why would they ever allow a debt that can never scientifically or mathematically be fulfilled? Ever. We're talking about a debt that cannot be fulfilled. And I'll explain why. It's very simple. You have a reserve bank that prints money. Everything they print, they only print as a debt to the government. Right? So they print $1 million and they ask for very low interest. I don't care how low the interest is. If it's 0.000%, that's money that has to come back that was never given out. I don't know where that money is supposed to come from. How could you give me $100, that's all the money in the world, and ask for $101 back? Where is the other dollar supposed to come from if you're the person who makes money for a living? And from day dot, every cent you made it in debt. Right? That's the greatest scam the devil ever pulled.
Yep.
There is no greater evil in this universe.
They're called Jews.
No, even the Jews have nothing to do with this. There is no greater. The Romans started it, so we can't really blame it on them, unfortunately. They take advantage of it better than anyone else, but still. Fractional reserve banking is the most evil thing in society.
Yep.
But worse than fractional reserve banking is where the money actually comes from in its origin. Even just literally printing money and asking for more of it back, it's impossible for people not to end up being enslaved to the idea of having... Imagine every single person who bought a house couldn't afford to pay it back. That's actually what the government does. They cannot afford to pay back their debt. That is the nature of their debt. That's how it works. And then the government never goes, oh, we screwed up, we have to go bankrupt. Well, Greece did, but that's not the point. They'll always forward that as a problem onto all the new homeowners and everyone else has to pay. Why? Why do we all keep paying? What are we paying for? Just tell them to go. You know what? Try this. You think they'll take your house if you don't pay for it, right? Try them to get them to take your house, stay in there long enough, take it back in the squatter's low. Sit in it long enough and take it back off them. You think that hasn't been done before? Look it up.
Well, funny you say just say fuck off, because do you know what happened with Venezuela? Where
they produce incredible women.
Oh, they do. They're amazing. Amazing.
I've looked into it. It's incredible.
Outside of that major export.
Outside of that major export.
Major export.
I believe
shooting for the moon with that one.
I believe their export is pig because the ham.
The ham.
Okay.
So, outside of their women, they were in debt, like ridiculous debt. And this was at the time Hugo Chavez was president. They were basically, the IMF was telling them, you guys are going bankrupt. You need, come on, pay back your debt, pay back debt. They did the maths and they said, we theoretically paid back the original debt that you guys gave us. So we refuse to pay. And the IMF was like, fair enough. That can't ask you. I mean, we can't invade you. I mean, we can, but that's not good for business. So the debt was nulled. They tried to depose like Hugo Chavez. All the people like, we want him back. Fuck this other guy. We want him back. So basically by saying fuck off to the IMF, Venezuela was like, yeah, we no longer have debt. Look, they can't trade in certain things. They can't do this. There's restrictions. They're still working through that thing. But they basically told the banks, fuck off. So the same thing, technically, most people don't know this. Again, your credit card debt is an unsecured loan. Technically, there's no collateral amongst that. Yeah, you will have your credit rating drop. You will be in arrears, everything like that. But in theory, if you told them, I can't pay, sorry. Take all the money, give it to your mom.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's another thing as
Nobody
well.
cares.
Credit card companies have to sell your debt to a debt collecting company. There is a figure at which they do that. Sometimes it's 30 cents in the dollar, 35 cents, maybe even 40 cents if it's cheap enough. Which means if you offer them 60% on the debt you have to them, and even though they have interest on top of that, it is still cheaper to sell it to you than anybody else. So you have a $12,000 debt with American Express. Call them up, tell them I can't pay you a cent, but my father can give me $6,000 right now if you wipe off the debt. You'll be very surprised what they'll do. I'm not saying I've done that with that amount, but
But it's honestly like there's so much fucked up nature in the money games. I think people get so caught up in the zeros and the frequency or the volume of it that they don't actually realize what the game really is. Learn about the whole rules, then you can play the game and cheat it.
Yeah, another thing you can do, I think, when we go back to when do you quit your job, all that stuff is, if it's all bullshit, you might as well work for joy. Because there are things no one, not the government, not your family, not friends, no one can take away from you. Some of the things you own, your own possessions, there's no debt on them, 100% you own them. They are worthless, they're worth a lot, it's irrelevant, it's yours. It's your turn with it, you can spend time with it. That's something people can't take away. They definitely can't take away your experiences. So if you take that break, if you do pay for something for yourself, if you eat the better food, no tax is going to come and take half the steak you ate, right? That's just not how it works. and they wish you wouldn't because they want more of the money in circulation. They get pissed off when people buy really good things, you know?
Oh, yeah.
They don't like it, but that's because it goes against their grain. The other thing is, if it could all go to shit, if the money technically is not even going to matter because it gets washed out in everything anyway, go to work because it puts a smile on your face. And you know what? Even if your work sucks, it takes an extraordinary human being to show up to work that sucks and kick its ass. Put a smile on your own face for what you're capable of achieving in it. Go and do that thing that the people who gave it to you were just want to watch you squirm and fucking die, and you look happier than they are, and they make more money than you're above you. They will fucking hate you for that, because they need their world to make sense. So do your very best to make sure no one can make sense of you. That's my top tip for the evening.
I love that. I love that.
I'm actually doing it right now in my job, and
And
people.
Just for those who don't know,
glad he said in my job.
he works in the medical field, so that's also a worry.
That doesn't make it any better.
It's a worry.
It does. I have a smile, and I go to work every day.
Look, I love to find out more about how you smile when you go to work every day.
Oh, fuck.
It's like everybody's confused why you're cutting the guy's arm off, but you know.
Yes, I'm a surgeon.
Hey, that's my job.
Surgeons don't cut arms off.
I'm a removalist. I'm a removalist.
I have good news and I have bad news. What is it? You no longer have a brain tumor and you're missing a leg. Goodbye. What happened? I was in the mood.
A bit of the top and the bottom.
A bit of the top and the bottom.
Oh, man.
No. I do love that. Now, I did want to discuss one thing. I didn't understand it back in primary school and high school, but the more it makes sense now.
It tracks. Yeah. It makes sense now.
It makes sense now.
Are you sure?
There's something called learning helplessness.
Okay.
This happens when a person fails one time. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. Because that's the best way for me to explain it. There is a class, they're given a test. Okay? And it's basically 3 letters, and they rearrange the letters to make another word.
Yep.
And it's rigged. The whole thing is rigged. One side of the classroom has easy words. The other side has the most difficult words known to man. And then teacher says, okay, put your hand up when you finished it. Right side, done. Everyone, every single person, finished. The left side is looking at the other side, is like, what the fuck? How the fuck they finished that? Second question, same thing. Right side puts their hand up, like way before the left side. Everyone's confused, like, what the hell? They get into this psyche where it's like, I'm not good enough. Like, look at them.
They're presuming they have the same question.
Of course, because they're the exact same papers.
Yeah.
You know, the teacher handed it out. It must be the exact same. So why am
presumption,
I? Yes. Yeah. Why am I failing and they're doing better?
Yep.
Right. Third question. Everyone had the exact same question.
Yeah, and the result was the same. Yeah.
The result was the same because the people on the right side, they thought they got it because they had it first 2.
Yeah.
Then the one on the left side, they just gave up. They're like, fuck it. I'm useless. I'm useless. Now, I went through this primary school where I saw that, you know, people, because back in my childhood, I wasn't really taught to read. I wasn't really taught to do anything. Basically, my homework was go sit in your room. You're useless. That was my whole childhood. Everything I tried to do and be better at, no one was doing homework with me. At school, I was fucking around. I was like, fuck it, what's the point? What's the point? So I really had difficulties studying, learning, doing all that. High school is when I had to fast track everything. That's when I actually started learning. So people were coming into year 7, year 8, year 9, when they had all these preliminary things from primary school. I started my primary school in high school. So I was like 5 years behind everyone. So I had to learn to read, write, do all that fast track it completely. Is it too loud?
Mm.
There?
Mm.
What? Too much? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I had to fast track everything, and it pissed me off. And this is why I have this now, because I know there's some people out there where they probably have something very similar. They have given their all, and then they see everyone else there. They're in a better circumstance because their teachings are literally giving to them. So the reason why I felt the way I felt was because at home, I wasn't given what I needed. And at school, I wasn't given what I needed. So I just gave up because it was easier. Why should I strive to do good? As a kid, I'm going to the next year, correct? I'm not going to fail. My grades, dog shit. But I go to year 7, I go to year 8, I go to year 9. Then year 10 hits. And then you're like, all of a sudden, oh yeah. When you're in year 11, by the way, you have to get 16 C's in all your subjects to go into university. And then you have ethnic parents on top of you. They're like, you have to go to university. I'm like, okay, sure. I'll try. Did year 11, failed it completely. And no, actually, I can't remember if I did year 11 or year 10. I can't remember. That's how much I hated it, by the way. I studied, I tried, I did my best. I fucked it hard. Got kicked out. They're like, yeah, you have to repeat. I was like, I'm not fucking repeating. Got kicked out. Went to TAFE. Did something stupid. Something like Uni Radio or whatever. Finished that. Didn't even pass it, by the way. Did Uni Ready at university. Did 6 months of it. I was like, not for me. That's my journey. And learning helplessness is a really big thing. And it literally stems from your house. It stems from your house. That was a rant.
What's the question?
There isn't really a question there. But if there was a question, it would be, when you experience learning helplessness, are there ways to actually overcome it? What is the psyche?
Good question.
What is the psyche that you should have in your head for you to get past it, to get over it?
I think stemming from some of my experience, even teaching, like, again, it's not the exact same teaching a sport versus academic, but there's a lot of parallels. I think the biggest detracting factor for people when they're doing something at a high level sport or even at a low level the sport, they always compare themselves. Like the kid who might not be naturally gifted in the sport, physically gifted, that kind of thing, they end up going and comparing themselves to the gun whiz kid who's competing, who's winning medals, who's this and that. And at the end of the day, it's like, you guys aren't the same. You guys aren't in the same track. You aren't at the same, side of the bell curve. There's a bell curve when they go, normalize the bell curve, everything. You're completely different sides. That's okay, because by you doing, and this is where our black belt grading is very interesting when we do it, you aren't being compared to a standard by someone else. There's a standard, but you're being compared to yourself. You're being compared to your own ability, your own physical attributes, your own things. You might not be able to do certain things as perfectly technically compared to someone else, but you're consistent. You're doing it to that degree, to that level. You're putting in that intensity for you to do it. You're only being compared to yourself. That's the thing I think that will help. That is, you need to look at why you feel helpless in that thing. Try to break through that obstacle for yourself. Someone else might smash it, might be, way ahead. It doesn't matter. Don't compare yourself to someone else. Find why you are struggling with that. Find a way to improve, and don't care about everybody else. Your win to overcome that one obstacle is more fulfilling, more meaningful to you than that kid that's gone straight past you and he's like ahead of you in terms of, you know, academic level and all that stuff. You should take the wins as you go on your journey, not on someone else's. And that's, I think, the biggest way that that helplessness starts to creep in is because there's always comparison. You're always compared to someone else. You're always doing this. You're always doing that. Hell, even ATAR, right? You get a really, really good mark, but because everybody else got shit, you get scaled down. So where's the thinking in trying to compare yourself to someone else? You know how much you put in. You know what you want, what you improved on. And that's enough. You don't need to be better than the other guy. You don't need to do any of that. Your journey is your journey, and that's how you should follow that. Take one step at a time. Every win with itself, every loss, every obstacle is a challenge to be better. That's it. Because you comparing to someone else, you're always going to be. If you compared yourself to someone dumber than you, you would look like a genius. Likewise, if you compared yourself to someone who's a genius, you look dumb. So you always, no matter which part of the line you compare, it's a zero-sum game. You're never going to be happy to the person below you or to the person above you. It's all a fleeting thing. The special source is where you're going with it.
That's a very good question. I think a really important question for everybody. I've experienced something in my life which was really interesting. It didn't happen until later in life, where I retrospectively looked at some of the things that I couldn't understand that happened early in my life, but I understood them differently. And it made what didn't feel like a win to me at the time feel like a much, much sweeter win. And that is that you need to realize that people who may be achieving what you're setting out to do may be disadvantaged by the fact that they can achieve it. So, in my example, I was competing in a sport where if you had the equipment available at home, you would have been able to practice so much that by the time you got to competition, it would have been a joke that you didn't win. It would have been a shock. And if you didn't have the equipment at home, being able to be second to that person was an extraordinary achievement, where that second place bugged him for his whole life. That a person that reached the table maybe 2 hours a day versus a person who did it 10 hours a day. Mm-hmm. The real win came from the fact that I was able to feel like I achieved the unachievable, right? Whereas he would have, achieving it felt like nothing. Of course nobody went, you're better than this guy because you beat him. It's because what that guy did from where he was coming from, is incredible that he got that close to you. Actually, he's better than you. Because of the journey he had to cover. So I think, again, that from typical, important saying that compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who someone else is today, and so on. That's typical stuff. But I think you also have to recognize what winning looks like in your life. And getting more necessarily is not more satisfactory. You may have a much more satisfactory journey, even though you don't think you ended up where typically is considered a win, if that makes any sense. And I think that especially if you can apply that to business is really clever. Because, let's say your lifelong goal is to buy a very special watch. Anybody with a credit card can go to any store and drop it and grab it and walk out. But if your decision is to pay cash for it, you earn very minimal, but you have to continuously do that every week, put aside that little bit, whatever. Trust me when I tell you, that watch means nothing to the person who put it on credit card or paid with inheritance or had so much money as their 20th piece. And it means everything to you. That person would give their life, their left arm, to get back to when it meant to them that much. Does that make sense? And you know how you know this is true? It's true for you too. There are many, many things. A cup of coffee you bought when you were 18 that you were studying a very special book for. You pay anything to be broke so you could sit there reading that book again. That you didn't have money so you go and to waste your time at the shopping center or try to get that other. Do you know what I mean? Like,
that actually reminds me of a interesting story from my childhood. It's funny that he says like the guy that has it on credit card won't appreciate it nearly as much as the guy that had to scrounge that little extra dollar here and there to save over a certain period of time to get that watch. It means something to him. When I was a kid, like we had circumstances where basically, again, the refugee story where there were toys that I would want or my sister wants when we went to the shops, but very early on we realized like if we actually we stopped asking because we learned that our parents, if they could or if they had the ability, would pay for it and would buy it if we really wanted it. However, they ain't gonna have a meal. They're not gonna have a meal or two or three because of it. We will definitely eat. They won't, right? So we and they said it in a certain way where, you know, we realized very early on when we were very young, we stopped asking because we know that if we asked, it would tear our parents to shreds to tell us, no, you can't have that, even though they thought we deserved it and everything like that. When I was a kid, there was like 2 stories. One where I learned something about myself, but number 2 is one that I shared with my mom, actually. My dad and my sister went to Europe at the time. My mom didn't drive. And at that point, it was, I think, something to do with, like, reporting, right? And I got, like, all A's. I smashed it. I was top of the class, everything. I would have been 7 or something. Mm-hmm. And my mom and I, we went to the shops, and I always wanted certain Legos, right? Like, I wanted a Lego set from Star Wars at the time, what was coming out. Mm. And we walked to the shops. I didn't pick the most expensive one, even though I wanted it. I didn't pick some other one. I picked a specific one. I really liked it. I liked that kind of thing. And my mom was like, yeah, we have it. We'll buy it. Boom. There you go. And it took like multiple times. Like I wanted that one. It took multiple times, like a couple of little tests, getting really high scores, things like that. And that report card at the end was like, oh yeah, you've earned it. And my mom got me that at that point, and it was the best freaking time. It was raining outside for like, you know, a whole weekend. I was just building this thing in the living room. My mom cleared it all out because my dad and my sister were away, and it was just this whole experience that you had to earn it. You didn't get it straight away, and then to actually get it, it was this whole experience with it. And number 2 was when I was a kid again. Because we couldn't afford certain things, there was a specific, like it was like a tank or something I wanted to play, you know, as you do, play army, whatever. And at that point, I was old enough where I didn't just buy things. I made it out of cardboard and freaking, I designed it, I made the tracks, I did everything, I put that turret moving, articulated. I made it out of cardboard and tape, like duct tape and everything, Scotch tape. When I designed it and I made it, and constructed it all, it was the whole experience of designing it and then making it and everything and making sure that it worked. Then when I had that completed freaking tank and I played around and I played the games with it and everything, it meant more because everybody who saw it afterwards was like, wait, did you make that? I'm like, yeah, I made that. It wasn't this whole thing around, oh, you went and bought it. But I was like, yeah, I went through all that crap to design it, to make it, to do this, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And it meant something more. So sometimes, and the whole journey of that was a lot more interesting to me, a lot more memorable. Like it brought a smile to my face remembering those 2 memories, was because they were earned. They had something to it. You did something for it. You didn't just go, oh yeah, the prettiest freaking toy in the thing. Buy it. There you go. Yeah. But that's what means something. Like, it's not necessarily the end goal. And again, you always say it's about the journey. It doesn't matter about the destination necessarily, as much as it's important.
Not just the journey, but how you feel about that journey. So I mean,
correct.
There is a science to achieving things, but there is an art to being fulfilled.
Yeah,
fulfillment is an art, and all achievement is not equal. I mean, there's a lot of hyper performance people, right? Some of them are absolutely mental. You should stay away from them as much as you can, because they've got some deep-rooted psychological issues that causes them to basically act out OCD in front of the general public. Like Goggins or whatever his name is.
David Goggins. Yeah.
Someone's going to have to sit that guy down and go, please, do us all a favor. Just sit down for 5 minutes. You want to achieve something incredible? Be quiet and sit down for an hour.
They obsess. It's bad obsession.
We medicate a lot of people for that. But yeah, like the sweetness of achievement is so funny. Like there's some things that you think, if I do that, all things are going to be great. And it's such an incredible letdown when you get it done. It's scary which hallways of the house you don't want to go down because it's just too big, for example. And then you end up in a tiny room as a student with a bunch of books and a computer and life couldn't be sweeter that year, right? It's so strange. And then it's funny how society forces us to skew our vision. We all seem to know everything when we're younger. We're very clear what makes us happy, the things we want to be surrounded by. And then suddenly you open your eyes and it's not there. And I can hand on heart say I've been blessed to have a life where every time I opened my eyes, it was all there. Because I didn't sell my soul under no circumstances. And I assimilated as much as I believe I should. I mean, not saying you need to, the society is also beautiful. And there's some of the society habits are the fact that there's the rigidness, the early morning coffees and the suits. And I enjoyed all of that. But I'm not judging anybody. We need every single person who does every single thing they do to keep doing every single thing they do. We just need all the right people doing all the right things instead of everyone trying to go down single stream because of this reason, or because that's going to be a dystopia if that ever happens. So we are not machines, and
nor should we ever be.
Well, and in the last few hundred years, we lost most of the greatest creative people to that machine world because if you compare what we've been able to produce last 100 years, creatively speaking, versus what we did the last 2,000 years in the written sense, it doesn't seem to be very. It all seems, the creativity these days seems to be to a very specific purpose. So if you design a really nice house, you're an extremely creative architect. Really? The guy didn't design the idea of living. That's what the creatives were doing 300, 400, 500 years ago. They were talking about writing philosophies on human patterns of behavior and what different ways we could be. And poets may be the same. I don't know much about poetry. Obviously, sadly, photography has fallen into completely becoming a tool for purpose. So they go, I'm a photographer. What do you shoot? They expect you to say, I shoot weddings, cats and dogs. I shoot product, whatever. As if you're different types of scissors that cut different things. Very, very built to task. If you say I'm a photographer, and they have to have a follow-up question. If you're an artist, they have to have a follow-up question, because art has a way of living. Photography is a way of philosophy. Yeah. It's got zero room in society. What do you mean you don't make money out of it? And even if you do, that's not the point. They're not asking that. But when they say, what do you do? They're not asking who you are. They're asking how you make money, which is a weird question to answer. It's actually a weird question to ask. I sometimes say to people, do I owe you money? Is the question important? Is the answer important, is it? Otherwise, ask me a better one,
It all really stems down to appreciation. And you only get appreciation if you work hard at it. If it was given to you, like we've said, you're not going to appreciate it. You're just going to put it to the side, be like, yeah, whatever. You're not going to take care of it. This has been a great, great podcast, guys, honestly. I appreciate you guys for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. Worries. Especially me. I am not regular and I love it. I hope I was able to add some value, but I certainly learned a lot.
That's good.
Good questions too. Great questions. What amazing things that you could contemplate. Everyone should be answering these things as best they can in their head.
Avoid taxes. That's what he's saying.
Yes. Do crime, avoid taxes.
Commit crimes, avoid taxes, go to jail, have a good time.
Yes.
And send us everything that you own before you go to jail in escrow. We'll keep it safely.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you all for listening. Join us next week on episode 15. We will have 2 more guests, and hopefully Moose will be back. Fucking dickhead, leaving me alone. Fuck you.